All right, folks, let's jump right into it, because this was just discussed live on ESPN's First Take, and it's the kind of low-key move that could quietly reshape the Lakers' depth chart. According to the report that Shams Charania just dropped, the Los Angeles Lakers have made a pair of under-the-radar signings. But don't let the word sneaky fool you. These moves could end up being incredibly strategic in the long run. Now, on First Take, the report that was brought to the table focused on two signings: Christian Koloko, a familiar name to Lakers fans, and Chris Mannon, a lesser-known player who just made waves during the Summer League. These two players are reportedly joining the Lakers on two-way contracts. And while they may not be headline stars today, there's more to these deals than meets the eye. So, let's break down exactly what this means, not just for the players, but for Rob Pelinka's larger strategy. Before we get too deep, the guys on First Take made it clear. These moves are part of the front office's plan to shore up the roster without compromising flexibility. Koloko, Mannon, and Trey Gison are now set to occupy the team's 3 official two-way contract spots. That shift also explains why the team recently waived Jordan Goodwin, who wasn't eligible for another two-way deal after spending time in that role last season. So the Lakers are being deliberate with how they fill those slots. Let's start with Christian Koloko. Since he's the more familiar face here, the former Raptors draft pick has had an up-and-down journey. While he never really made a huge splash in Toronto, he did show potential as a lob target and pick-and-roll big man, especially during short stints with the Lakers. But let's not forget, Koloko missed the entire 2023-2024 season due to a blood clot issue. Since then, he's been trying to work his way back, and last season he managed to get a few looks with the Lakers. What was pointed out on First Take is that his game still has some serious limitations. He's not a shooter, his touch around the rim isn't polished, and for his size, he hasn't developed into a dominant rebounder yet. But what the Lakers seem to be banking on is that there's still upside to unlock. They're clearly hoping the G League environment can help him grow, both physically and mentally, into the kind of role-playing big they could call on in a pinch. With Jackson Hayes now re-signed and Maxi Kleber also in the mix, Koloko won't be needed for rotation minutes anytime soon, but this deal gives him time and space to develop behind the scenes. So yeah, it makes sense. You stash Koloko on a two-way, let him work through the system, and see what he becomes. Not every signing has to be a home run. Some are just smart singles. Now, let's shift to the real wild card here, Chris Mannon. And this was the name that really caught the panel's attention during First Take. The undrafted guard is a bit of a mystery to casual fans, but those who watched him during the Summer League know this guy brought serious energy. He started his college career at Cornell, where he was a defensive pest, and then moved on to Vanderbilt for his final year. He didn't put up eye-popping numbers offensively. In fact, his shooting took a dip last season, but his effort on the defensive end, that's what turned heads. He averaged over 2 steals per game in his final year at Cornell. And even though his numbers at Vanderbilt weren't stellar, scouts noted his hustle, instincts, and defensive versatility. According to what was said on First Take, the Lakers' front office, and especially the coaching staff, have been paying attention to that kind of effort. Defense is something the Lakers value deeply, especially in their guard rotation. With Mannon, they might see a player who can come in, defend multiple positions, and maybe even carve out a role if injuries hit the main roster. His Summer League performance helped his case big time. He wasn't out there just trying to get buckets. He was diving for loose balls, making smart reads, pressuring opposing ball handlers, and doing all the little things that coaching staffs love. That kind of grit often earns two-way guys a shot in real NBA minutes when the time is right. So, what does this all mean for Rob Pelinka and the Lakers' long-term vision? Well, as was said on First Take, it's a classic Pelinka move. These aren't blockbuster signings, but they're the type of calculated, forward-thinking additions that could give the Lakers depth when it matters most. They're already stacked with veteran names, but with Koloko, Mannon, and Gison filling those two-way slots, they've added upside, insurance, and flexibility, all without committing major money or roster space. And let's not forget, these kinds of low-key roster moves are often what separate contenders from pretenders once the season really gets rolling. If even one of these guys breaks out or becomes a useful bench piece, it'll be viewed as a huge win for the Lakers' player development pipeline. So now, the floor is yours. The First Take crew made their points. Now I want to hear yours. Do you think these signings matter? Can Mannon crack the rotation if injuries pile up? Will Koloko ever turn into something more than a project big man? Or are these just roster filler moves with no real long-term value? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget, this is exactly the kind of under-the-radar update that real fans pay attention to. Until next time, Laker Nation, stay locked in. Now, continuing with what was highlighted earlier today on First Take, the conversation turned toward Chris Mannon and what makes this signing intriguing beyond the surface. According to DK's prospect board, Mannon was ranked 57th, not a household name, but certainly someone who popped on scouts' radar. His per-36-minute stats in the Summer League raised some eyebrows, especially on the defensive end, which, as the analysts pointed out, is really where he shines. That's his identity. And it's no coincidence the Lakers picked him up to fill the void left by Jordan Goodwin. Now, while they both operate at similar positions, their playstyles aren't identical. Goodwin is more of a physical, rebound-hungry guard who brings grit and hustle. Mannon? He's cut from a similar cloth when it comes to effort, but there's more polish to his defensive fundamentals. He's quicker laterally, more instinctual in passing lanes, and likely offers more upside on that end of the floor. Offensively, there's still work to be done, and that was pointed out clearly on First Take. Mannon's college production wasn't flashy. He averaged 6 points and about 4 boards last season, and he wasn't lighting it up from deep. In fact, his three-point shot still needs development. But in Summer League, the story flipped a bit. He looked composed, smart with the ball, and most importantly, he didn't try to do too much. He played within the system and made winning plays. What makes this more interesting is that he was considered one of the top undrafted free agents still available, and the Lakers managed to bring him in on a two-way contract. It's a quiet move, but one that could pay off if Mannon can continue that development track. Honestly, as discussed during the segment, there's a lot more buzz about Mannon than people expected. Even with all the attention on Christian Koloko, there's a real sense that Mannon could be the more exciting long-term piece. And remember, this is consistent with how the Lakers have been operating recently. Their player development system has shown promise. We've seen fringe guys grow into legitimate contributors. So giving Mannon time in the G League, letting him learn behind seasoned players like Luka Doncic and some of the veterans on this roster could be exactly what he needs. Worth noting, too, Koloko apparently had interest from other teams. While it wasn't about full NBA contracts, there was competition for his two-way rights, and he still chose to come back to LA. That says something about the environment they're building. There's a clear path for these guys to grow. But here's the real question that First Take put on the table. Will either of these moves actually matter at the NBA level? That's the unknown. No one expected Jordan Goodwin to impact games last year, yet he did. So could Koloko or Mannon follow that same path? It's not out of the question. And that's why this news is more significant than it may seem on the surface. We want to hear from you, especially if you followed Mannon back in college. What's your read on his potential? Could he end up surprising everyone like Goodwin did? Now, shifting gears, let's touch quickly on another topic that broke during the same First Take segment. Marcus Smart's arrival in LA. His signing is now expected to become official once waivers are cleared. And insider Mark Stein just added a very interesting layer to that narrative. According to Stein, Luka Doncic played an instrumental role in recruiting Smart to the Lakers, and it seems the two have been on the same page throughout the offseason. Smart's conditioning has reportedly been a focus. The Lakers were told that he's taking this summer seriously, trimming down, getting quicker, and preparing for a bounce-back year after a season where his fitness was a point of criticism. If that's true, this could turn into one of the more impactful, under-the-radar pickups of the offseason. Add to that, there's some optimism about Jared Vanderbilt. The same report mentioned that he's finally close to full health, healthier than he's been at any point in the last year. That's a huge plus. He could be a serious piece in the Lakers' rotation when training camp rolls around. He hasn't played like himself since before the injuries, so this is like adding a new player altogether. So let's look at the current outlook. You've got Koloko and Mannon now locked in as two-way guys with clear roles to develop quietly. Then you have a core lineup shaping up: Doncic, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton that already looks stronger than last season. Jackson Hayes, who was previously starting, now shifts back to the bench. And Marcus Smart gives you that veteran defensive grit off the bench. Though First Take brought up a valid point, should Smart start over Reeves? That sparked some debate. One angle says, keeping Smart with the starters gives the Lakers a defensive anchor from the jump, while Reeves, who had a career year, could lead the second unit offensively. Would Reeves like that role change? Maybe not, but strategically, it could make a lot of sense. We also can't overlook players like Jake LaRavia, who could bring scoring punch off the bench, especially if Smart and Hayes hold down defensive responsibility. This is shaping up to be one of the deeper, more flexible Lakers teams we've seen in recent years. And these low-key signings like Mannon and Koloko might end up being sneaky smart pieces of that puzzle. More updates coming soon, but for now, let us know what you think. Should Smart start? Can Mannon become a factor? Is Koloko worth the investment? We'll keep breaking it down for you every step of the way. It'll be really intriguing to see how some of these lineups shake out. Imagine a group with Doncic, Smart, and LaRavia on the floor together alongside LeBron. Curious to see how that dynamic plays out. Off the bench, you've got Rui and Reed, which could give this team a strong, dependable second unit. There are definitely a lot of different ways this rotation could be adjusted and experimented with. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this, with JJ Redick calling the shots. We know he likes to mix things up and try different lineup combinations. It's going to be fascinating to see how he handles this roster and which players get prioritized. So sound off below with your reaction, not just to the lineup possibilities, but also to the recent signing, and, of course, Chris Mannon's take. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.